John Jeffries, the chair. Robin Hunter, our clerk, is running a little bit behind. Mr. Bob Springett, who is a member, our grumpy editor, sometimes the bouncer of the meeting, is with us. So we're going to maintain the protocol. There's been lots of discussion this week about the governor's executive orders and him extending these orders, which haven't been passed yet, but we're still operating until June 15th under the March 12th, 2020 executive order. So as I've just done, I've announced the members, and I'm going to ask Bob to indicate that he is present. So for everyone who is at home watching and recording the meeting, you will know that I, John Jeffries, and Bob Springett are here with a quorum. Bob?
Present.
Thank you, sir. So, and again, in keeping with the protocol, we're asking everyone to take care to not to share your screen, to remember that this evening's meeting is being recorded via Zoom, and that we're following the same protocol. When you are asked to speak, please announce who you are, your role in this evening's meeting. We are going to begin the formal part of the Board of Selectmen's meeting with a quick citizens comment or citizens question right before we move into the moderator's role. So, Kate, do we have any citizens comments this evening?
No, none that I know of, no.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Then I'm going to move to item 1.1, the moderator's meeting. For that, I'm going to introduce our moderator and our assistant town moderator, Mr. Jim Rapetti and Mr. Dave Haviland. Jim, at this point.
Jim Rapetti, 14 Old Meadow Road, town moderator. David?
Thank you. David?
Dave Haviland, 88 Walpole Street, assistant town moderator.
Jim, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Much appreciated. What I would like to do is discuss the process that we're going to follow for the town meeting to make sure that we all understand the roles that we'll be playing. And to start the meeting off, I am going to spend a little bit more time than I did the last two meetings that we had outdoors, just discussing some of the rules that we follow for conducting a town meeting. In particular, I will be explaining what a motion to move the question means. When somebody wants to end debate, they make that motion, and I'll describe the process for that. And I'll also describe the process for motions for reconsideration, because they may be very important given that our votes are going to be in sequence. We'll first be considering in Article 1 the motion to renovate. And then secondly, after that, if Article 1 does not pass, then we would be considering in Article 2 a motion to build a new building. Given the fact that they're considered in seriatim, in sequence, it may very well be that somebody would want to move to reconsider the first warrant article before we move to the second warrant article. As we'll be discussing at the town meeting, and also will probably be mentioned tonight a few times, the fact that these are in sequence will mean that if Article 1 passes, meaning if the vote is to renovate, then we will be proceeding directly to Article 3, which will consider the appropriation of funds to achieve the renovation. So people are going to have to think about how they feel relative about the relative choices. If you prefer a new building, which is Article 2, then you'll vote no on Article 1. And that would then allow us to proceed to Article 2. On the other hand, if you prefer the renovation, then you will vote yes for Article 1. And if that gets a majority vote, then we would move to the appropriation article, Article 3. If there's a no vote on Article 1, we would then proceed to Article 2. So people having voted not to engage in a renovation could then vote on whether they want a new building. And if Article 2 then passes, we would move to Article 3, the appropriation. Now, I know that this is complicated and somewhat convoluted. It's unfortunate that it's the nature of town meetings that we have to follow this process. But we will be discussing it repeatedly at the town meeting so that hopefully everybody will understand the process. Before I go any further, are there any questions about this?
Jim,
Yes, Nina.
Nina Pickering, Town Council. I just a point of clarification so folks aren't confused. The process would be to take each article in sequence. It is just if Article 1 passes and more than a majority of people vote for Article 1, we won't skip Article 2. We will vote to dismiss Article 2 and then move to Article 3, right?
Okay.
So we have to take action on Article 2. That action will be a motion to dismiss as opposed to a substantive motion to consider Article 2. But we won't be skipping Article 2.
Okay. So I spoke too quickly. We would be dismissing Article 2. Now, Nina, the other point that I think is important, and help me with this, if Article 1 does not pass, and we then go to Article 2, and that does not pass, there is another opportunity for another bite at the apple, right? Somebody can make a motion to reconsider Article 1 or Article 2. Is that correct?
Correct. Within half an hour of either vote, a party could move to reconsider the vote on either 1 or 2.
Right. And if it's within a half hour, it's a majority vote that would allow reconsideration. If the motion is made beyond a half hour, it would be a 2/3 vote, according to the Dover bylaws. Okay. So we will be moving in sequence. And again, it's important to remember that if you favor the renovation, then you would be voting yes on number 1. If instead you favor a new building, you would be voting no on number 1 and then waiting for the vote on number 2, which would be considering the new building. After we've discussed the process, we are going to have a pledge of allegiance to the flag. It has been suggested that we should do that at open town meeting, and I agree. So we will do that, and then we'll move to the first motion, which is our customary motion that if somebody is proposing an amendment to one of the motions that are being made at town meeting, they have to identify the source of funding. And Rob, are you going to make that motion, or is Gordon going to make that motion? Rob Andrews?
You're on
muted,
mute.
Rob. You're still muted. Rob, give me a thumbs up if you're going to make the motion. Okay, Gordon is. And then you'll second. Okay. All right, very good. So after we make that motion, then we're going to have an additional motion as part of the process of considering, do we renovate or do we build new or do we do neither? We're going to have a presentation by the Community Center Committee led by Ford Spalding. And in the process of that presentation, Ford is also going to be calling upon Chris Dwelly, who is the town administrator, to explain the financing for the new building or the renovation. And we'll also be calling upon Mr. Richardson, who is an architect, to help explain the process, the design process, and what the needs are that are being fulfilled. In our system in Dover, when somebody is presenting as an advocate, which is what the committee is doing, they're recommending that we either adopt a renovation or a new building. It's customary for non-citizens to have to be approved by the town meeting in order to speak. So I will ask the town meeting to approve by vote that we allow Chris Dwelly, the town administrator, and Mr. Richardson, who has been an agent for the Carroll Committee, to participate in the presentation with Ford Spalding. It should be pretty pro forma. It's simply going to be, it will allow us to obtain all the information necessary during Ford's presentation. And Ford's presentation will last approximately 20 to 30 minutes. So after we have the vote to allow the non-citizens to participate in the presentation, we will then move to the first motion, which will be the motion to consider renovation. Ford will make his presentation. Now, most of you who have experienced town meeting before know that usually we only allow 10 minutes for somebody who's a proponent of a motion to present their case for the motion. Ford is being allowed 20 to 30 minutes because in reality, Ford is speaking with respect to Articles 1, 2, and 3. Article 1 being the renovation, Article 2 being a new building, and Article 3 being the financing for either a renovation or a new building. So when you think about it, since it's 3 motions, that would add up to a total of 30 minutes. And Ford has been quite experienced at making these presentations over several Zoom sessions, and he has done very well in keeping it under 30 minutes. In fact, very close to 20 minutes. After Ford makes the presentation, we will then turn to the warrant committee. And the warrant committee is going to be presenting a majority opinion and a minority opinion. And Rob, have you been able to fix your sound? No? Okay. Well, you'll have to tell me, Rob, by Saturday, who's going to be presenting the majority report. All right, you are. Okay, and the minority report. Okay, Gordon. Okay, very good. I can read lips. Okay, so we'll then, after we hear from the warrant committee, the majority report and the minority report, then we'll open it up for citizen comments. Robert Cox has already approached me. He's going to be presenting on behalf of the Council of Aging. And we'll also, anybody else who wishes to speak to the article will be allowed to speak. We ask that you confine your comments to 4 minutes. You know that normally in a town meeting, we restrict comments from the floor to 2 minutes. We're doubling that since this is a special town meeting that is focused only on the Carroll Center. So we've doubled the time. I've been advised that if I were to allow more time, it's likely that some of our citizens would make a motion to move the question earlier rather than later. So by confining it to 4 minutes, you'll be allowing your fellow citizens time to also participate in the discussion and the debate. Since all of these motions are so closely intertwined, we will be considering questions that relate to all 3 motions. So if you have a question about the renovation, or if you have a question about the new building, or if you have a question about the financing package that's going to be used, we will allow all of those questions to be asked while we're considering the first article. Because what you're really doing is engaging in comparative shopping here. And it's important that everybody have all the facts. Robert, I see your hand up, Bob.
Jim, you had thought that possibly since I was representing a board, I might get more than 4 minutes. Is that?
How much more would you like, Bob?
Not much more. 6 minutes would do it. It's fairly close. I've timed myself.
Okay. Well, you know, again, since this is a special town meeting, and so we're really dealing with one subject. You twisted my arm, Bob. Okay.
Thank you.
6 minutes.
But others will be held to 4. And what about people who just come to the mic, Jim?
I'm sorry, people come to mic 4 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. And but Bob, since Bob is representing a board, a town board, then I think it's appropriate to give more, particularly where we are only considering really one item. Yeah, Ford.
As I understand it, questions and comments are directed through you, and then you will turn to me, and I will find somebody who's going to answer the question, but everything should go through you.
That's right. All questions should be directed to the moderator or to the assistant moderator, and then we will direct the questions as appropriate. So I suspect that most of the questions will be directed to Ford, but there might be questions to the warrant committee, for example, the majority view or the minority view, or there might be questions to the Board of Selectmen pertaining to the financing package. So as is customary with all our meetings, the questions and comments should be directed to the moderator, and then the moderator or the assistant moderator will then direct the questions to the appropriate personnel. Okay. So after we've had a discussion with respect to Article 1, we will then vote on the motion with respect to the renovation. And again, if you are in favor of the renovation, then you would vote yes. If instead you favor the new building, you would vote no on the renovation and wait until we then proceed to the second article where we would consider the new building. After the vote, if the vote has been positive, if it's a majority vote in favor of the renovation, then we would move to Article 2. And as Nina, Town Council, has explained, we would ask for a motion to dismiss Article 2, and we would vote on that motion to dismiss. Now, during this process, remember, people can ask, they can make a motion for reconsideration with respect to the vote on Article 1. So this is going to be part of the process that's going to allow people, if they wish, to engage in a little bit more comparative shopping. But it's very important to remember that any citizen can always make a motion for reconsideration. If Article 1 does not get a majority, then Article 2 would be considered. We would vote on Article 2. And if that gets a majority, we would then move to Article 3, which is again, the financing article. Now, the article for financing, because it involves an issuance of a bond, is going to require a 2/3 vote. So while it's only majority vote for Articles 1 or Article 2, Article 3, the financing article, will be a 2/3 vote. And in addition, after that vote, if that passes, even if it doesn't, we still will have a town election, a town-wide election, which will consider that financing. And that, I believe, Nina, is a majority vote for the town-wide election at the polls. Is that right?
Yes, it's a 2/3 vote at town meeting, and then a majority at the ballot.
Okay, so at the polls, when you go to vote at the townhouse, you'll be given a ballot, and that would be a majority vote. But at town meeting, for this to proceed on, it's going to require a 2/3 vote for Article 3. Okay, any questions so far? I recognize this is very complex. Okay, then we would move to Chris Boland will be making a motion with respect to Parks and Recreation. Chris, are you here?
Yep. Hi, Jim.
Okay, great. So Chris, you'll be making a motion. Do you have somebody lined up for the second?
I do not.
Okay, why don't you make sure you do that? You want to make sure you have a second. And then Chris, you'll be making the presentation. If there are any factual questions that might arise, we can always direct the factual questions, if you wish, to the Director of Parks and Recreation. But since you're acting as the advocate for the motion to expand to take into account Parks and Recreation needs, the presentation will have to be made by a citizen, and that's why you'll be making the presentation.
Okay, so two questions. So just to understand, I have to make a motion to introduce Article 4?
That's right.
Okay, so I'll do that. And then after I make the presentation, if I can refer questions to Mark, even though he's not a town resident?
That's right. We can always refer questions to a town agent or a town employee for points of information. Okay. A non-citizen cannot act as an advocate, but they can act as a resource to provide factual information.
Okay,
So
great.
you would be able to do that. And
Thank
Chris, if I could ask Chris Dwelly to make sure that he emails you a copy of the motion so you'll be able to read it, that would be great.
Great, thank you.
Okay. And Chris, how long will your presentation be?
No more than 10 minutes.
Okay, very good. And then we'll move to a discussion again, and we will vote on the request of Parks and Recreation. Now, if it turns out that Article 3 fails, if the financing does not get a 2/3 vote, then that's the end of the story. So we'll then have a motion to dismiss Articles 4 and 5 because you can't expand a project that hasn't been financed. Okay. So this is assuming, Chris, we'll be going to you assuming that we have a 2/3 vote with respect to Article 3.
Great.
Article 5, now Article 4 is a majority vote. And after we've voted on Article 4, again, remember, people can always be making motions for reconsideration. This is not going to be over until we adjourn. Sometimes people leave halfway through the meeting and then they're surprised to find that things have changed because there was a motion for reconsideration. Article 5 is the citizens petition, which they've asked for it to be dismissed. Is the citizen here who was sponsoring that? No. Okay. In which case, Chris, I'll ask that the warrant committee make that motion to dismiss. Okay. I would prefer that the citizen make the motion, but if the citizen isn't here, then we'll ask the warrant committee to do it. Ford, I see your hand up.
Yeah, my question, you said it's Article 4 is a majority vote. I believe it's a 2/3 vote because there's funding. Is that correct, Nina?
I don't know, Nina?
Article 4, where it includes an appropriation, if that appropriation is going to be through bonding, then it would be a 2/3 vote.
So should we do a 2/3 vote for Article 4 then, Nina?
Yes, the language of Article 4 being a citizen's petition couldn't be changed to conform with the other votes with respect to language we typically use for bonding. But if that is the proposal for the funding source, again, remember the first motion is that those seeking to add items to town meeting that cost money need to identify a source. If the source is identified as bonding, then it will need to be 2/3, and we will need to alter the motion language to include a whole bunch of other legal gobbledygook that is in Article 3.
Okay, so it sounds like we have some homework then.
So can I ask a question? Is it possible that it could be a majority vote if it were funded out of free cash? The Park and Rec article.
Just going back to the article, it reads that it's dependent on a debt exclusion. Article 5 was the citizens petition that was presented without the tie to a debt exclusion.
Oh, I'm sorry, am I getting them confused? So this is Article 4 is Parks and Rec?
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so Article 4 will definitely be a 2/3 vote then, as drafted. Okay. Article 5 apparently is ambiguous, but the citizen who's sponsoring Article 5 has agreed that it should be dismissed. So we will not be voting on the merits of Article 5. And again, Chris, I'm sorry, Rob, if you could make that motion or have Gordon make the motion and one of you second, so that we're sure that we dismiss it. Okay. After we've gone through all of that, then we will have a motion to adjourn. And again, there can be a motion for reconsideration right up to the moment that we start to vote on the motion to adjourn. Okay? And after the motion to adjourn, we can go home. All right.
Hi, all. It's Tracy Mannion. I'm sorry, I got kicked off for a very long time. Is there anything you need me to do?
Tracy, are you the citizen who is sponsoring Article 5?
Is that the CDC for the school?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a board member, so it wasn't. I suppose I'm here to help with that. I guess I was called to help someone with that, so I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Tracy, well, first let me ask, have you all definitively decided that you want to dismiss Article 5?
Correct, yes. As far as the board goes, yes, we found another place to rent, so we're good to go.
Okay, now, do you want to make the motion to dismiss, or would you prefer that the warrant committee do so?
I'm quadruple booked that day, so I would love it if you did it. That would be fabulous. Thank you so much.
Okay, then we'll have the warrant committee do that. Fine. Thank you very much, Tracy, for your help with this. Thank you.
No worries, no worries. And if there's anything else you need, please just email me and I'll be happy to help out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Okay, are there any questions or comments? Yes, Chris Boland.
Yeah, if the motion, the 2/3 motion fails for the Article 4, the Park and Rec article, can somebody present a motion to reconsider for a majority vote for a town funded Article 4?
Well, technically, Chris and Nina, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but technically, I think you would have to vote to amend, first make a motion to amend the main motion with respect to Article 4 to eliminate bond funding and substitute free cash. And that would have to get a majority vote. And then after that, we would then vote on that motion as amended. And Nina, correct me if I'm wrong on this, that would then be a majority vote.
Correct for all of that. So, Chris, what he's talking about though would occur before any vote on the motion as currently presented with the bonding. So you would have to make a decision essentially, do I want to go forward and try to get the debt issued for this, or do I want to try to pay for this with free cash? And if the choice is free cash, then I would recommend that you make that motion to amend right at the beginning while your article is being considered, as opposed to seeing if the debt passes and then coming back on reconsideration.
Got it. Can you tell me?
If it does fail on the vote as currently drafted for the debt, you can move to reconsider. If that passes, you can move to amend to the free cash. So yes, you could do it that way. It's a lot of votes, but you could do that.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And do you want to quickly explain about amendments and having them in writing to you beforehand?
Yeah. Great, Dave. Thank you very much. Dave raises a very good point. If anybody is proposing an amendment, we ask that it be in writing so that town council can review it to make sure that it conforms with the law. As you all know, the Attorney General has to review all of our motions to make sure that they're in compliance with the law. And as a way of trying to increase the probability that we will have approval from the Attorney General, we prefer that Nina, as our town council, review motions to make sure that they conform with the law. So, and ideally, if you are thinking about making an amendment, if you could submit it to Felicia Hoffman tomorrow, so that would give us more time to study the amendment to make sure that it's in conformity. And if it's not, we can help you. Nina can provide alternate language to the amendment that will be in conformity with the law, or will increase the probability that it is. So if anybody is planning on making an amendment, it would be really helpful to us, and it will help speed along the actual meeting Saturday if we have the amendment ahead of time so Nina can study it. Chris?
Can I just ask on the Article 3, I don't know who can answer the question, maybe Chris Dwelly, how much of Article 3 is bond funding and how much of it is town free cash?
The $18 million, the full anticipated cost of the project will all be bonded.
Okay.
The Board of Selectmen's financing plan uses $4 million of free cash after the fact to pay toward the debt service.
Okay. And then just last question. So Nina, or Jim, to your point, if I want to make an amendment, I would only do it as a contingency if we did not get a 2/3 vote. I would not make the Plan B, not Plan A, as Nina had the two options. Do I need to draft that amendment now and show that to you?
It would certainly be helpful, Chris, if you could draft it and email it to Felicia and Chris Dwelly, and then they can forward it to Nina.
Great.
That would be great. Because Nina's very busy and she does a great job, but if she can have a little bit more time, that will help all of us.
Terrific. Well, I'll do that. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, let me turn it back to you, John. Oh, Chris?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and sorry I was a few minutes late, Jim, I might have missed it, but I want to make sure that I get the motions out to all the appropriate parties. So do we have Gordon and Rob moving and seconding all motions with the exception of Article 4, which would be Chris Boland and a yet to be identified individual?
Yeah, so right, Warrant Committee, Rob and Gordon will be doing all but Article 4. Chris will be doing Article 4 with somebody who he's going to identify who will second.
Great, thank you.
Okay, anything else before I turn it back to John? Ford?
This might be helpful, just so you know. We are going to be having, Felicia's arranged to have a big screen and extra speakers out of the field. Who knows how many will be there, but my guess is over 300. So there'll be extra speakers and there'll be a screen. We've made 400 copies of the FAQ, which will be handed to everybody, and 400 copies of the presentation that we are giving, the building committee is giving. In that, instead of asking for somebody to go to the next slide, all the pages are numbered, so we will be, as we make our presentation, telling you what page we're at so you can look at your own page. So that's going to be, I think, helpful to everybody.
Okay, Ford, thank you. And by the way, many thanks to Felicia Hoffman, who has worked very hard to organize this on very short notice and was also able to obtain a screen that will hopefully aid the process of understanding. And there were concerns about bringing a heavy screen onto the playing field, and she's been able to find a workaround with respect to that as well. So really much thanks are owed to Felicia for all her hard work on this. Anything else? John, it's all yours. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, David. Thanks, everyone, for your participation, and always, Nina, for your help. So it's a lot of information. There's a lot of moving parts, and I really do appreciate everyone's input on this effort. So we're going to move to item 1.2 this evening, which is Board of Selectmen updates. Chris, I'm going to ask you if there's anything on your side that you would like to update us on.
No, nothing in particular other than just getting ready for Saturday.
Robin has joined us, and Robin, I announced to everyone that you had a conflict, but Robin is here. Would you like to add anything this evening, Ms. Hunter? You're muted.
I just have a regular update that I can provide at the Board of Selectmen's meeting. I believe I sent all my questions that I had gotten over the weekend, and late last week I forwarded those to Chris, and Chris passed them on and made sure he got answers to the community center committee, because I felt that it was important to ensure that we had answers to some of the questions that I got during the week and weekend.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. Mr. Springett, updates
I
for you,
don't have an
you,
update.
sir?
I have a reminder that certain town administrator performance evaluations are due, hopefully this week, so that we can create the synthesis document and have a public review at June 24th meeting. So Mary will need some time, Mary Carver need some time to sort of synthesize the three individual reviews, and then that will be ultimately presented.
Mine is
Haven't gotten it done,
50%
you gotta get it
complete.
done. Sorry, Robin, what?
I said mine is 50% complete. It's on my to-do list.
What about you, John? How are you doing?
I am 95% complete.
I'll be the
Mine is
last
at-
then.
Mine is at my editor in the office right next door. She's
Mine was due on Monday, nah.
grammatically correcting everything. So thank you both for that. The only thing that I have to add is I mentioned both Robin and Bob prominently in my address at the commencement that last Thursday evening, which was a perfect night for the DS high school graduation. And it was just a really, really well done event, as it always is. It's kind of the highlight of, for those of you out there, that it's really the highlight of one of the things that Bob and Robin and I get to do. So the setup was perfect, stage perfectly done. So it really was well done. And where I told everybody we're looking forward to seeing them all back, or at least half of them, the Dover people, back on Saturday. So Chris, anything else that we need to cover this evening?
That does it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much. I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn from Ms. Hunter.
Second,
All in favor? Aye, John Jeffries.
I, Robin Hunter. I keep thinking I'm third.
You've never been third, Robin. I Bob Springett.
Robin, you've never been third, ever.
Never been third. Nobody's booked.
I have to get used to this new role. It's,
Thank you all very much. We're looking forward to seeing everyone on Saturday morning, rain or shine. It's going to be sunshine and blue skies.
And you want to tell people what time?
10 a.m.
Bingo.
Be there at 9:45. Get a great seat.
Is it supposed to rain? No, right?
No,
That's
definitely
supposed
not.
to be over.
It's what?
It's supposed to be over by earlier in the morning.
Exactly.
Sprinkles through like 7 or 8. That's about it.
Just look at Dave Haviland's screen behind him. That's exactly what
I
it's
expect to see Charlton Heston.
So it's not going to be good hair weather. Bob doesn't have to worry about that.
I cannot comment on hair weather at all.
My beard gets curly.
With that, we are adjourned. Thank you all
Thanks
very, very
all.
much. See everyone Saturday.